I'm 72 years old. And last Tuesday, I did something I should have done 40 years ago. I stood in my daughter's kitchen, looked her in the eyes, and I apologized. Not for anything dramatic, not for some terrible mistake. I apologized for being emotionally absent for most of her childhood, for choosing work over her school play. I apologized for being physically present but mentally somewhere else. You know what she said?
Dad, I've been waiting my whole life to hear you say that.
40 years. She waited 40 years. And here's what's going to make you uncomfortable. You're doing the same thing right now. Maybe not to your daughter, but to someone, to something, to yourself. And you keep telling yourself you'll fix it later. I'm about to tell you the one thing I wish someone had screamed in my face when I was your age. Not whispered, not suggested, screamed, because whispering didn't work on me. And it's probably not working on you either. People think wisdom comes from age. It doesn't. Wisdom comes from finally paying attention to what's been true all along. I spent 50 years being what everyone called successful, engineering degree. 33 years at the same aerospace company. Worked my way up to senior project manager. Good salary. Retirement plan. The whole American dream package. And I was miserable. But I didn't know I was miserable. That's the dangerous part. I thought this was just what life was. You work hard, you're tired, you're stressed, you handle it, you keep going. I remember my wife asking me once when I was 48, when was the last time you felt truly happy? And I got defensive. I said, I'm providing for this family, aren't I? What more do you want? What I didn't say, what I couldn't say because I didn't understand it yet, was that I couldn't remember. I genuinely could not remember the last time I felt happy. Not content, not satisfied with an achievement. Happy, light, present, alive. Here's the lie I believed for 5 decades. I believed that sacrifice was noble, that suffering in silence made me strong, that if I just kept pushing, kept grinding, kept handling it, eventually there would be a payoff. Eventually, I'd get to rest. Eventually, I'd get to be happy. That day never came. You know why? Because I was measuring my life by the wrong metrics entirely. My wake-up call wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a terminal diagnosis. It was much quieter than that. And somehow, much worse. 3 years ago, I was at my grandson's birthday party. He was turning 7. The family was there. Cake, presents, kids running around screaming. And I was standing in the corner checking my phone. I'd been retired for 6 years at that point. 6 years. But I was still checking email. Still thinking about problems that weren't even mine to solve anymore. My grandson came up to me, tugged on my sleeve. He said, Grandpa, will you play with me? And I said, God, I hate admitting this. I said, in a minute, buddy. Grandpa's busy. He walked away. My daughter saw the whole thing, and she just looked at me with this expression I'd seen before. This sadness mixed with resignation, like she'd given up expecting anything different. And in that moment, something cracked open in me. I saw myself clearly for the first time in maybe ever. I was the guy who was always busy, always distracted, always somewhere else mentally. I'd been that guy to my wife, to my kids, and now I was being that guy to my grandkids. And suddenly, I understood something that made me physically nauseated. I had wasted it, not some of it, not just the work years, all of it. I'd been so busy preparing for life, planning for life, working towards some future version of life that I'd completely missed the life I was actually living. Now, before I go any further, I need to know you're serious about this, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you uncomfortable. It's going to make you question choices you've already made. It might even make you angry at me. Most people will click away right here They'll go back to their comfortable numbness, back to pretending everything's fine. But if you're still here, if you're willing to hear the truth even when it stings, hit that subscribe button right now. I need you to commit to yourself, because that button is a promise that you're actually going to pay attention, that you're not going to forget this conversation the moment it ends. Subscribe, then let's continue. Here's what took me a lifetime to understand. You think you're living your life, you're not. You're living a script someone else wrote, and you never even noticed. When you were young, they told you what success looks like. Get good grades, get into college, get a good job, buy a house, climb the ladder, provide for your family. And you did it, or you're trying to do it. But did anyone ever ask you what you wanted? Not what would make your parents proud, not what would look good to your friends, not what would feel safe or impressive. What did you want? I wanted to be a musician. Did you know that? Of course you didn't, because I never told anyone. I barely admitted it to myself. I played piano. I was good. Not concert pianist good, but good enough that my high school music teacher said I should study it in college. My father laughed. He actually laughed. He said, "Music? How are you going to feed a family with music? Get a real degree." And so I did. Engineering, safe, practical, respectable. And I put the piano away. I didn't touch it for 47 years. 47 years. Do you understand how insane that is? I denied myself something I loved for 47 years because someone else decided it wasn't practical. Here's what nobody tells you about practical choices. They work. The practical path works. You'll have a career. You'll pay your bills. You'll look successful from the outside, but you'll be hollow. And that hollowness will grow quietly for decades until one day you'll look in the mirror and realize you don't recognize the person looking back. I want you to do something right now. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching this from. Your city, your country. Just let me know you're out there. And here's why I'm asking. When you comment, it tells YouTube that this video matters, that this message needs to reach more people, because someone out there is exactly where I was 30 years ago, and they need to hear this before they waste half their life like I did. So comment, tell me where you are. And while you're down there, tell me one thing you gave up because someone said it wasn't practical. After that birthday party, I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I kept thinking about all the moments I'd missed, all the times I'd been physically present but mentally absent. My daughter's dance recitals, I was there, but I was thinking about work. My wife's attempts to connect with me, I was there, but I was too tired to really engage. My own life, I was there, but I was always waiting for it to really begin. And I realized something that absolutely devastated me. The life I was waiting for, that was it. That was the life. Those interruptions, I was annoyed by my kids asking me to play, my wife wanting to talk, my friends inviting me to things I was too busy for. Those weren't interruptions to my life. Those were my life. And I treated them like obstacles to something more important. So I made a decision. At 69 years old, I decided to finally start living. I know how that sounds. Finally start living at 69, like I'd wasted everything before that. And you know what? I had, not entirely, but mostly. But I also decided that the time I had left, whether it's 5 years or 15 or 25, that time was going to be different. I bought a piano, a beautiful upright. I started taking lessons. My fingers didn't work the way they used to. I sounded terrible at first. I didn't care. Every time I played, even badly, I felt more alive than I'd felt in decades. I started saying no to things that didn't matter and yes to things that scared me. Someone invited me to a poetry reading. Old me would have said no. Too vulnerable, too weird. What would people think? I went. I even read one of my own poems. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the paper. It was one of the best nights of my life. I started having real conversations with my kids, not surface level check-ins, real conversations where I asked questions and actually listened to the answers. I apologized to my wife for 40 years of half presence. We cried together. We're closer now at 72 and 70 than we ever were at 30 and 28. Let me ask you something. How many minutes have you watched so far? 11? 12? And you still haven't subscribed? This is exactly what I'm talking about, putting things off. I'll do it later. I'll do it if the video stays good. Later is the death of everything that matters. Click the subscribe button right now. Not because it helps me, I'm 72. I don't need the validation, but because every time you put off a tiny decision, you're practicing the habit that will ruin your life. The habit of postponing. Subscribe now. Prove to yourself that you can make a decision and follow through immediately. Do it. Here's what I need you to understand. I'm not special. I'm not uniquely foolish. Every single person I know over 65 has the same regrets. We worked too much. We worried too much. We waited too much. We postponed joy because we thought we had time. We avoided difficult conversations because we thought there'd be a better moment. We said maybe later to the people we loved because we were tired or busy or distracted. And now we're old, and those people are gone or distant. And the time we thought we had turned out to be much shorter than we imagined. You think you're different. You think you'll figure it out earlier than we did. Maybe you will. God, I hope you will. But probably you won't, because you're making the same mistakes, following the same script, believing the same lies. So let me give you the cheat code. The thing I wish someone had told me at 25 or 35 or 45. Ready? Nothing you're chasing matters as much as you think it does. Not the promotion, not the bigger house, not the impressive title, not the validation from people who don't actually know you. None of it will make you happy. You know what makes you happy? Presence, connection, doing things you love with people you love while you still can. That's it. That's the whole secret. And it's free. It's available right now. You don't need to earn it or achieve it or qualify for it. You just need to choose it. But here's the hard part. Choosing it means disappointing people. It means saying no to obligations. It means potentially earning less money or having a less impressive career trajectory. It means being willing to look unsuccessful by society's standards while actually being successful by the only standard that matters, your own peace and fulfillment. Most people aren't willing to make that trade. They'd rather be miserable and impressive than happy and ordinary. I was one of those people for 50 years. Don't be like me. Before I finish, I need you to do two things. First, comment below and answer this question. What's one thing you're doing right now that you know deep down doesn't actually matter? Be honest. No one's judging you. I wasted decades on things that didn't matter. You're not alone. Second, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And I'm not saying that for algorithm reasons, though yes, it does help the video reach more people. I'm saying it because someone in your life is making the same mistakes I made. They're sacrificing what matters for what doesn't. They're postponing their real life. Send them this video. It might save them 40 years of regret. I'm 72 years old. I've been incredibly lucky. I have my health. I have my family. I have time to correct some of my mistakes. Not everyone gets that chance. My father died at 68, worked until the day he had his stroke, never retired, never traveled, never did any of the things he said he'd do someday. My best friend from college died at 54, massive heart attack. He was in the middle of closing a big deal. Those were probably his last thoughts. Business, not his wife, not his kids, a deal. Your time is more limited than you think, and you don't get a warning. You don't get a message that says, hey, You've got 6 months left. Better start living. It just ends. And if you've spent your whole life preparing to live instead of actually living, that's a tragedy. Don't let that be your story. Start now, today, this moment. Call someone you love. Do something that scares you. Say the thing you've been too afraid to say. Make the change you've been postponing. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down. Now, because I'm 72 and I'm telling you from the finish line, the race you're running doesn't matter. The moments you're racing past, those are everything, and you can't get them back. Don't wait as long as I did to figure that out. If this hit you the way I hope it did, there's more coming, more truths, more hard conversations, more things people our age wish we'd figured out sooner. Subscribe so you don't miss them. And remember, the clock is ticking. What are you going to do today that actually matters?